go. Hello, guys, and welcome back to the big one, the FPL Duo. We're back again on this Sunday evening to discuss the weekend of football that we've just witnessed, which is game week 15, isn't it?
15.
15, yes. I'm getting confused with the games weeks are coming thick and fast. So, what our game we've just witnessed, obviously Spurs and Chelsea playing out a 4-3 thriller. Let's discuss it. I mean, how's your weekend gone first? And
it's just in terms of football, not great. Quiet week, I think, in terms of the football. But there's been lots of goals. That's the interesting thing. Been some mad results, especially the one we just witnessed a few moments ago. But yeah, we're trying to get some information from our teams because not really much happened. But yeah, some interesting games out there.
Yep, for sure. Now, let's kick it off with our teams and how we've performed. So I'll go first. It's been a pretty decent week, I'd say. I'm not sure what my rank was before this game week. I think it was about 2 million. I'm not sure. Around the 2 million mark. But it is a pretty decent Green Arrow so far. So in goal, I have David Raya, and he did concede very early on. I think it was within the first 10 minutes. Fulham's first shot on target. Very not good strike. Very good goal from Jimenez. Teti plays him through, and Jimenez sort of at an angle puts in a bottom corner. A lovely finish. And obviously Arsenal come away with a 1-1 draw at Craven Cottage, which is a blow for them. But yeah, comes away with a 1-1 draw. Into the back line, very, very disappointing for me. Because as we know, Gabriel, yet again, we know he misses out. He missed out the last game. Team news came up, and he wasn't in the 11. And I've got Greaves coming on, who, as you know, also didn't play. He wasn't involved in the Ipswich game. So essentially, I am playing with 10 players this game week as well, which I'll take definitely the Green Arrow playing with 10 men. So yeah, Greaves wasn't involved. Gabriel wasn't involved. That leaves me with Lewis. Lewis was an interesting one because he actually scored a goal. I think his first goal of the season. Lovely finish from him to make it 2-2 for Man City against Palace. However, he did pick up a red card for a double yellow. However, that second yellow, if you guys haven't seen it, it's very, very harsh on Rico Lewis. Never a red card. If anything, the Palace player fouled him and he got sent off for it. So it was a funny one if you guys haven't seen it. But yeah, he should have never been sent off, and that sort of dents the points because he would have had at least a 6-pointer there. But ends away with 4 points after his red. 8 Nuri's playing tomorrow night against West Ham away. So that's a massive game in terms of both managers under pressure. Lopetegui and forgot the Wolves man, Gary O'Neill, both sort of need to win. So we'll see in that case. In the midfield, let's kick it off with Saka. Again, did score late on. We looked like the winner in the 87th minute, but Martinelli was slightly offside for the build-up. But apart from that, I thought Saka was quite quiet in terms of open play. Most of Arsenal's chances, I felt, came from corners. In the open play, they didn't look like scoring. The only time I thought Arsenal might score here is when they took a corner or they crossed it from like a free kick position on set pieces. But yeah, this was sort of a quiet game there for Saka in that regard, apart from his disallowed goal. And Mbeumo, again, I'm glad I kept him for my team. He delivers for me finally after being patient with him. That was, I think, 5 blanks in a row for Mbeumo before this game week, and now he comes over the 13-pointer against Newcastle after the 4-2 drubbing of Newcastle. Goal, assist, and the 3 bonus points for Mbeumo in the 4-2 win against Newcastle, and I'll take that all day long. Rodgers as well is in there after his blank, quite disappointing blank. He got a yellow card as well, so ended up with 2 points after Aston Villa's 1-0 win against Southampton as well. So nothing for Rodgers. The main man is Cole Palmer this week. Yeah, where do we start with this one? It's a very interesting game, probably the most entertaining game I think this season I can remember we've had so far. A lot of goals, a lot of drama. Could have been red cards, should have been a couple of red cards, I think. Penalties. This game pretty much had everything. Spurs go up 2-0 early within the first sort of 12, 13 minutes. And you're thinking, shock on the cards, Spurs going up 2-0. But as Spurs, they do let you down sometimes, and they sort of threw it away in the end. And Cole Palmer was involved in 3 goals. He puts the sort of a cross in for Enzo's goal. He also scores 2 penalties. I think as a Palmer owner, I feel a bit lucky because I think those 2 penalties are so easily avoidable. Like Spurs should never have gave those penalties away. I think the defending there for those penalties is absolutely shocking. But obviously, as a Palmer owner, I'll take it. But I think those 2 penalties could have easily been avoided. There's no need to foul the Palmer in those positions, especially this one of the ones right near the edge of the penalty box. The guy is going nowhere, Palmer. And Sarr just comes and kicks him at the back, gives away a penalty for no reason, and then Basuma slides in for no reason. I think on Sancho or thinking of Enzo, one of the players gives away 2 penalties. So yeah, but Palmer, cool as you like, one in the bottom corner, then does a Panenka, sort of chips the goalie for the second one, and yeah, comes with a 36-pointer, massive haul. And yeah, in terms of captaincy, I was sold on Palmer from the start. I never looked at Mbeumo, even though he did well. I never looked at Saka just because I expected goals in this game. I did say this could be a 2-2, a 3-2. It ended up being 4-3. So that's why I went Palmer, just because I had a feeling Chelsea are going to score goals, and they also concede goals, as we saw today, of conceding 3 against Spurs. So yeah, that's a big one, and that's sort of changed my game because before that I wasn't a red arrow. So it goes to show you captaincy is the most important thing in FPL. Then up front, Jackson back in the lineup after the rest. He didn't really have too many chances. I thought he quite quiet in terms of opportunities for him. It comes with a blank. And João Pedro, bit disappointing as well since I'm bringing him in. No returns from him and another blank, and I was subbed off after 70 minutes. And then Brighton went on to also let up a 2-goal lead, similar to Spurs. On the bench, I've got nothing. Gabriel, we know, wasn't involved. Still picked with a knock. I don't know how serious that is. I'll see Champions League midweek. But Arsenal do play Champions League, so if Gabriel's in the squad, I probably will keep him and then see how it goes. Salah, we know, and Mikalenko both had the fixture against each other, but that was postponed due to the weather. And if Fabianski plays tomorrow night, who's my backup goalie, all in all, I believe I'm on 63 points as of now, and pretty big green arrow of about 600k, I believe, 1.5. I've still got 2 players to play, which is 8 Nuri, who will probably get me a blank, and Cunha, hopefully he can get me the goal. So it could be a bigger green going into tomorrow. But yeah, decent week. But the whole season has been very sort of tough. I can't break into that top 1 mil. This is the best week I've had in a long time. So we'll see how it goes. I know a lot of people have done quite well. I've seen scores of some people even getting 80, 90 points. So fair play to you guys. Let us know in the chat as well. What's your overall score for this game week, guys? It'd be interesting to know. And also, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. Before we get on to Jordan, before we get onto your team, I'm going to take these 2 comments and then we'll talk about your team. Dan the Man, hi guys, on 49 points with Saka captain, just Strand Larson to play and currently on a red arrow down to 281k. I hate owning Lewis, but that was not a red, and that could have been a penalty, so he would have got an assist. Yeah, I mean, for those that haven't seen it, definitely never a red card for Lewis. The player kicked him, and then he got sent off for it, which was strange. But yeah, we've seen a few weird decisions. Even Caicedo, I think, was very lucky to stay on the pitch this game week. I think some Kulusevski potentially as well.
Yeah.
Some were saying
that was a surprising one. Yeah, that elbow was apparently in a natural position while he's running. I found that quite hilarious. That was not looked at further, but fair enough.
Yep. No, I hear that. All right, Jordan, let's move on to your team now. Talk us through your game week.
All right, so it's a pretty dismissal game week, but starting off in goal, we have my Leicester keeper Hermanson. Obviously no clean sheet. That was very null and void. Brighton were 2-0 up. But in the late stages of that game, Leicester did claw it back with 2 goals. So Ruben Nistelrooy has definitely made an impact since he's obviously joined Leicester as a manager. Clinching a point from Brighton is a pretty good result, but only 2 points for my goalkeeper. No clean sheet. He did make a couple of saves, but no more than that. In terms of defence, not really much to speak about. Obviously, Aït-Nouri plays tomorrow. Van der Berg got 0 points. He picked up a yellow card and conceded 2 goals against Newcastle. So he ended up on 0 points. No clean sheet. Mazraoui only played 24 minutes. He was benched. Man United went on to lose that game anyway, 3-2. So there was no clean sheet to be there if he was starting in that 11. So yeah, pretty disappointing defence and goalkeeper. No returns whatsoever from any of them. Only 3 points in total in combination with goalkeeper and defenders so far. Moving on to the midfield, I suppose the only real success, which doesn't feel like a success, is Palmer scoring an 18-pointer. But without the captaincy, it's not as exciting to obviously have those 15 points from him, as a lot of people did captain Palmer against that fixture. Maybe I should have considered it, judging by how it went last game against Spurs. But yeah, consider how you did against Southampton. I wasn't very reluctant to captain him, but it did pay off for those who did go for that decision. And obviously, speaking about captain, I did go with Saka, which ended up not being the right choice because he, in fact, did blank again. And yeah, it seems like I can't get the right captain this season. Whenever I do captain a player, usually blanks. So it's a bit disappointing to see. Obviously, Saka with 4 points. Even to add more misery to my team, Johnson, he did get an assist, but he went off injured around 52 minutes. So his action ended in the early stages of the second half. I'm not sure how serious that is. We'll have to see further down this week. And the player I brought in this week, Matoma, blanked as well. I took out Mbomo, who managed to get a double haul. Everything I'm doing at the moment.
You took out Mbomo. Was it this week?
Yeah, it was this week. I took out Mbomo, I believe. Or it might have been the week before, but yeah, I took out Mbomo where he did get a double haul, and Matoma got 2 points despite Brighton scoring 2. He did miss a massive chance though, Matoma, during that game. Yeah. Moving on to the forward, same with João Pedro. I mean, I brought him in twice this season. Every time I brought him in, he's blanked for me. It's the most frustrating thing about João Pedro. He's such a good player, but whenever he comes in my team in terms of fantasy football, it just blanked after blank. He did come off early though, 70 minutes played only, but only 2 points from him. Moving on to Jackson, same thing. Came off 75 minutes, no returns, 2 points, despite that massive score of 4 goals to Chelsea against Spurs' 3. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel with Chris Wood getting one of the goals in the Man United game. He did play only a couple of minutes as well, 78, but he was rewarded with the bonus 2 points, which helped out, I think, this week, considering how many points I got this week.
Yep.
In terms of the bench, not really much to discuss. Fives was actually benched as well, so he only got 1 point for playing 9 minutes of that game, which didn't really matter because Brighton already scored 2 by the time he came on. And obviously Salah and Keane postponed match. Vardy Marston is non-playing goalkeeper. And it's a massive red arrow again. That's a 400k. So I've dropped 800k in the past 2 game weeks. I'm now in the beginning of 4 million rank with 43 points this week. I have one player left. That is Aït-Nouri, but
yeah, 1 point.
I'm not really excited about it. Seeing Aït-Nouri play tomorrow in the fixture against West Ham. But yeah, that's how Gameweek 15 has gone for me so far.
Okay, let's take a few more of your comments. Let us know how you guys did in the chat, guys. And also hit the like button on the stream, please. Hi lads, 58 points, says Patrick, with 10 players. Cunha and Aït-Nouri left to play. Is it really worth keeping Gabriel? Arteta ain't never going to say anything. Well, we'll know anyway because Arsenal have a game before their next Premier League match. They play in the Champions League. So if he's on the bench on the Champions League game, even if he doesn't start, I wouldn't be too worried. If he's on the bench, then I would keep Gabriel personally. But we'll have to wait until the midweek. Took a hit to transfer out Mbeumo and Solanke for Saka and João Pedro. Ouch. Yeah, that is a big swing because obviously Mbeumo got a 13-pointer. And Solanke also scored the first goal of the match for Spurs. So, 2 players that are returned. Saka and João Pedro with the 4-pointer between them.
Yeah, I remember those transfer decisions, Spurs, because I recommended taking Solanke out, which I didn't quite work out. So I apologise if I influenced you in that decision making.
Did you see how serious the Johnson injury was? Not sure. I mean, do you have any idea, Jordan, as a Johnson owner, if he looked serious or?
It didn't look that serious. I mean, he was on the floor, but he did walk off without any assistance. So hopefully it's not serious. We'll probably find out more in the press conference and how.
We'll have to look at fixtures as well. Don't know why my FPL app wasn't working earlier, but we'll see when the next fixtures are. We're looking at next Saturday, Game Week 16. We'll go into Game Week 16. I think we'll have a Game Week 16 chat. We've actually just gone through Game Week 15 and how our teams have performed. I do want to discuss Game Week 16. So let's do that now. Just bear with me while I bring up let's bring up the fixtures first. I do like bringing up the fixtures first and talking about where I see the opportunities this game week. So this is a fixture, Jordan, for Game Week 16 and the chat.
Yeah.
So first up, Arsenal-Everton. There's no early kickoff. Surprise, surprise.
Interesting.
So 3 o'clock kickoff. Liverpool-Fulham. That's going to be interesting. Newcastle-Leicester. Wolves, Ipswich, Forest, and Villa. So in terms of FPL, Salah again, I think captaincy shouts. I think he'll be popular. I think Salah on that day. Sunday's fixtures: Brighton, Palace, City, United is going to be an interesting game to watch. I think definitely the way both those two teams how they're playing at the moment. Chelsea, Brentford should be a good game. Southampton, Spurs, and then there's Monday Night Football, Bournemouth and West Ham. So quite some interesting fixtures, Jordan, in Game Week 16. What stands out to you in terms of FPL, where you see opportunities maybe for players or teams?
In terms of FPL, potentially Newcastle. I mean, did score again in obviously the Game Week 15. So he could be a good candidate against Leicester, who have just conceded 2 against Brighton.
Yep.
Underneath the new manager. Again, Ipswich, Delap could be a potential candidate again. He seems to be a little bit underneath the radar as a cheap forward, but again, Wolves have been really poor, conceded lots of goals this season, and I wouldn't put it past Delap or someone from Ipswich could potentially score in that fixture. Not the Forest again. Chris Wood, I think, still the guy that you can stick with for the current moment. It seems to be just treading along nicely with 1 goal here and there, finding a way into games, and obviously the derby against Manchester City United. Interesting players I think you could potentially pick for that game.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at Sunday's fixtures, though, a couple of 7 o'clock kickoffs. So those games are expected to finish at 9-ish. So it's a later deadline, or later Kneejerk stream on next week. So that's a bit interesting, kickoff times. Let's talk about bus teams, because there are some interesting moves I've got planned. So can you see that? I'll zoom out a bit, actually. Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me move it this way a bit. There you go. Zoom in a tiny bit more. My screen always does that. I'm not sure why. So in goal, Raya. I am playing a back 3 of 8 Nuri, Greaves, and Gabriel. Greaves is in there because Lewis is suspended for the Manchester United game in the derby. Mikalenko also has Arsenal away, so I'm not sure I want to play him in that game. However, Greaves just wasn't even in the squad in today's game for Ipswich. And Gabriel, we don't know if he's going to be back. So I think I'm in a boat now where I have to make defensive transfers, at least one. maybe even 2, depending on Gabriel. In the midfield 4, I've got Rodgers, Palmer, Salah, and Saka. As you guys will see with keen eye, Mbeumo is currently benched on my team, which I'm not sure if I should bench him. However, he does have a tough game at Chelsea away, so that's why I've left him on the bench for now. But I could still play him because we've seen Chelsea just concede 3 goals to Spurs. Brentford are another team that score a lot of goals. They're one of the teams, I think they've got the most goals in the Prem out of any team this season, Brentford. So I might just keep Mbeumo in there because he may score, but they may lose and he goes and scores. So Rodgers can easily be swapped out for Mbeumo. We'll have to see. Up front, Cunha, Jackson, João Pedro as well. So I think I'm quite happy with the way my team looks. Apart from the defense, I like the midfield and the attack. They've got really good home fixtures. Cunha plays Ipswich. Jackson plays Brentford at home. João Pedro has Palace at home. So some nice fixtures there. Saka has Everton at home. Salah has a home fixture against Fulham. In terms of captaincy, I'm not even going to look elsewhere. I mean, you can consider Palmer, I think, at Brentford at home. Brentford do also concede some goals here and there, but I think Palmer's a decent option. But for me, it's going to be Salah. I know Fulham were quite good today defensively. They frustrated Arsenal, I thought, for large parts. Most of Arsenal's chances were from set pieces. So Fulham did defend well, but it is at Anfield. So I'm going to go Salah captaincy. In terms of transfers, what I'm thinking of at the moment is to bring in Trent. Trent in his last game came off the bench to get 2 assists for Liverpool. The move I'm planning to make is Mbeumo out for Semenyo, so drop him down to a cheap midfielder, and then move Rico Lewis out for Trent, and that would be for 2 free transfers. At the moment, I'm undecided. I want to see what happens with Gabriel. Even Greaves being not in the squad today. I think he wasn't even injured. I think he was just left out, which is worrying. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Possibly Trent Alexander-Arnold in, and then downgrade Mbeumo. Obviously, Mbeumo just gone and got a big haul, but it's just his fixtures where I look at now thinking, is it time to sell him? Chelsea, Forest, Brighton, Arsenal, Southampton, Man City, Liverpool, Palace, Spurs in his next sort of 8-9 games. So he has been consistent pretty much. I know he had a couple of blanks, which was frustrating, but I mean, how many goals is he on for the season now? He's on 9 goals, 2 assists. So can't complain too much. I've had him pretty much since game week 1, I believe, as well. I've owned him since game week 1, so he's done really well for me. But I think I may be jumping off the Mbeumo sort of train at the moment. Let us know, guys, your thoughts on Mbeumo.
Could you potentially, instead of doing the move to Semenyo from Mbeumo, can you afford to do Trent to Greaves in one move and then potentially play Mbeumo for the next 3?
No. I don't have enough money. Let's see what I've got. I've got 1.5, sorry. So if I had to get rid of Greaves, it's got to be a 5.5, which I'd rather leave Greaves, I think, and then take out Lewis, which gives me 6.2, which is a bit better. So I can bring in, I'm not sure who I'd bring in for 6.2. I can't even get to Van Dijk. Van Dijk 6.4, so I can't get to him in one move. Trent's obviously 7 mil now after his price rise last night. Not anyone really I want. I'm not happy with Man City at the moment. Saliba, I can't get him anyway because I've got triple Arsenal. So it would be Rodgers as well to do it. Sorry, not Rodgers. Restore Rodgers back. And Mbeumo. So I can do, there you go, Trent in, 6.5, and then Semenyo. Go to midfielders. So Semenyo will come in. That still leaves me 0.8 in the bank. And that's what it will look like. I'll probably bench Semenyo that week as well. Because I was going to bench Mbeumo anyway. And then I'll play Rodgers against Forest. And then I'll play Trent at home to Fulham. Now, Trent has been an interesting one because I had him early on. I started with him. Then I sold him. But now I'm looking at bringing him back in. After his... He got an 8-pointer against Man City due to the clean sheet and bonus points he gets. And then he got a 6-pointer after playing only about 20 minutes against Newcastle, where he got 2 assists. I also think he's been a bit unlucky. He could have had a few more assists if the players took their chances, some of the Liverpool players. But it's one to definitely keep an eye on, Trent, because you look at the fixtures. Fulham at home is a home game, so Liverpool are usually quite strong. I know Liverpool wasn't great against Newcastle, but I think Trent could get you a few points now. Spurs away, we've just seen Chelsea sort of put 4 past Spurs. I think that could be a decent game for Liverpool in terms of goals. Leicester at home, West Ham, Man United, Forest, Brentford, Ipswich. There could be goals in these and the odd clean sheet. And Trent also does pick up quite a lot of bonus points as well. So he usually gets bonus. So I'm looking at Trent personally, but we'll see, because a lot of it does depend on if there's any injuries midweek and things like that. But at the moment, I'm quite happy with the way my team is set up. It's just a defense that is looking a bit rough, I think. Let's pull up some of your comments as well. 73 points with Cunha left to play, says Robert. Raul surprise 8-pointer. Yeah, Raul Jimenez, big week.
Yeah, good goal for him against Arsenal.
Not putting the blame on you, says Spurs 64. I consider Saka and Pedro long-term players, so I'm sure they'll pay off. Oh, there'll be matches going on this time next week. Yep. Spurs will still be playing, I believe, this time next week. My planned move is Larson to Isak, but could backfire. I think Isak's a good move. Not Spurs. Newcastle are another strange team, similar to Spurs maybe, where they beat the bigger teams or they have good performances against a big team, as we saw Newcastle holding Liverpool out to a draw, but then go and lose to Brentford 4-2. So, but Isak, I still think Isak's a good option. This week has been awful. Palmer captain and Ahmad is the only returns in my team. I do have Bowen and Cunha to Moz, but 50 points currently ain't really getting yellow. Would just be typical FPL.
Yes, it would be typical FPL, because Eight Nuri's managed to only get 1 or 2, even 0 points since we've owned him for a couple of weeks now without any attacking return or clean sheet from him.
Ezra says 76 points. Saliba, Mbeumo, Palmer, Solanke carried me. Yeah, obviously Saliba got a 10-pointer as well after his goal in the 1-1 draw. Brentford have scored about 30 goals at home and like 4 away, 5 away and 26 at home. So yeah, they do seem to be a lot stronger at home. For those that are looking to play Mbeumo potentially this week, either away game at Chelsea. Bruno and Wood to Semenyo and Isak. Are these transfers worth it? How important is Isak? I think Wood is doing really well, to be fair. He carries on scoring when you don't expect it to. And Forest are 5th in the league, just 2 points behind Man City in 4th. So Forest are having an excellent season. And I think no one saw this coming, not even their fans. Fair play to Forest.
Yeah, that's 10 goals for Chris Wood now.
I mean, Bruno, I want to get your thoughts on him, because he scored a lovely goal, but
could have had 2.
Could have, yep. I think, did he get an assist? Or, I mean, let me have a look at Bruno. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on Bruno Fernandes. He got a 9-pointer. Just the goal. Plays 75 minutes and subbed. Man City next. But the way Man City are playing, you wouldn't be surprised if Man United got a goal against them. The way they're playing, set pieces, free kicks. Bournemouth, Wolves, Newcastle, Liverpool. I mean, I'm not keen on Bruno right now, guys. I would rather have Saka. I would rather have Palmer. I'd rather have Salah, those sort of players. If you can still afford him on top of that, then yeah, you could look to bring him in. But I think, if I had Bruno, I probably would sell. But it depends on who you're bringing in. I mean, let's take a look at... I mean, we had a chat, Jordan, about Arsenal, actually. Obviously, in terms of Bruno, and I said... I actually said, you said as well, we don't really see Arsenal dropping many points in that run now. And they've gone on, and first game, bang, they've dropped points to Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not a surprise now, considering they lost to Fulham last season in obviously that title run, which dwindled as one of the teams they did lose against. But yeah, it's quite a shocking result. I thought with Odegaard back in the team, Arsenal looked more convincing in their last performances against Man United, West Ham, and not the Forest. But yeah, Fulham the game, that was quite a weird one. Their set pieces were the most threatening out of everything in terms of corners, but their open play wasn't quite good in the final third, I think.
Yeah, his goal involvement was fairly low, 0.21. Against Man United, it was a similar story. Not much there. Obviously got the big haul against West Ham after his 3 assists and a goal. Forest, it wasn't bad, the stats. Chelsea, fairly quiet. Newcastle, Liverpool. I mean, I still think Saka is someone that I want to keep in my team, guys. I think the next 3, definitely I can see, 3 Arsenal wins here. I mean, I don't know about you, but Everton, Palace, Ipswich, these are games where you probably want an Arsenal attacker.
Yeah, at least one Arsenal attacker. I don't think I'd go for 2 still. I still think their goal scoring is very unpredictable. They don't score many. 2 or 1. Maybe more if it's a newly promoted team, like we've seen. But against opponents like Fulham and that, you can't get many past them.
Did score 5 against West Ham, 3 against Forest. So you thought they were getting back into their goals. Did score 2 goals against Man United. But yeah, I still think Saka, keep him ahead of Bruno, ahead of those sort of assets. I think. I mean, I've not got no plans to sell Saka personally. I think he was still, obviously, he did score an offside goal today, so he's still the Arsenal's main threat, I think, in terms of goals. And yeah, I would sell Bruno to someone like Saka still. Palmer as well, we mentioned him. Your fixtures look nice for Chelsea. He's a captain option in many weeks coming up. Salah didn't play this week, but hadn't done any harm to his sort of, what we think of him. I probably would have captained him actually if the fixture went ahead. So that's why I ended up getting the Palmer points. But Salah for me is captain for me on Gameweek 16. And then even some of these weeks, Leicester at home, some of these home games, I think Salah at Anfield probably most weeks. I am thinking perma cap. It's going to be boring, but I am in the territory of going perma cap Salah for the next couple, even though you can argue Palmer is just as good in captaincy in these fixtures, but I'm sticking on Salah for the next couple of weeks until I see otherwise.
Yeah, it's something I've considered also, especially the way the season's gone. In terms of my captain choices, I feel like sticking to just one player that's more reliable than obviously the players I've gone for.
Let's see your boss team. Just read us out your 11 for your boss team, and also how many transfers you've got.
So in goal got Hermanson. Difficult fixture, Newcastle. Back 3, Mazraoui, Van der Berg, and Aït-Nouri. He's got. I mean, out of those 2 fixtures, Man City, Chelsea, are definitely not expecting a clean sheet. I'd be very shocked. I mean, Aït-Nouri, maybe there's an off chance Wolves can get one against Ipswich at home, but again, not impressed. Midfield 4, Palmer, Saka, Johnson, and Salah. I have to see with Johnson, it's going to be a big miss if he doesn't feature in that Southampton away game, so fingers crossed his injury is quite minor. The captaincy's over Salah at the moment against Fulham at home, but I think the fixtures are pretty good in the midfield. Front 3, you got João Pedro, he's got Crystal Palace at home. I mean, I've been so underwhelmed by João Pedro. I mean, he's a good player.
You holding?
I think he's still holding for, well, you got to hold him now. I mean, look at the fixtures in the next 3: Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Brentford. Surely.
What's their last couple? I think Brighton haven't won now. It feels like they haven't won in a couple of weeks for some. Yeah, they haven't. They've not won in the last 3 games. We've gone under the radar, I think. They had Southampton and Leicester in the last 3, and they've not managed to pick up a win in those games, which you would have expected maybe for them to pick up points in those games. But they went and beat Man City. They got a win against Newcastle. They beat Spurs. They drew to Arsenal. They had a really good start, but last couple of games, it's not been the same for Brighton, I think.
No, it's pretty weird for Brighton. They start the season off well against Man United and Everton. They get a couple of draws after that, a loss. Then they win against Tottenham and Newcastle. So big teams, Man City, Bournemouth, wins, and then draw against Southampton and Leicester. It's so unpredictable what you're going to get from Brighton in terms of result, but even more so when you select a player from Brighton like João Pedro, blanked. But you got an assist against Fulham. Still, that doesn't feel like an achievement if you've had him for 3 weeks and he's only given you 1 assist. You would think against Crystal Palace he does something.
Yeah.
But he's got to do something soon. Otherwise, he might have to consider selling him despite Brighton's fixtures being really good. But
even someone like Wissa. Wissa keeps scoring every week, it seems. And I was looking at Wissa before I bought João Pedro in. Obviously, let's take a few of these comments. This comment as well. Already own Saka, selling Bruno to a cheap mid to afford Isak. I mean, would you do Wood to Isak right now? I think I would, but sorry for the pun. But in terms of Chris Wood, what's the Chris Wood fixes like if you want to bring it up? Because we've got Villa next. And as an owner, what's your thoughts? Because you were looking at maybe selling him, but he's gone and scored against Man United. He scored against Ipswich. as well. So how many goals is that for him now? 10 goals
10.
for the season.
Yeah, double digit for
in
Chris
15
Wood now.
matches, which isn't too bad for a 6 million forward.
No, for 6 million forward, and for Nottingham Forest as well. Most of the goals do come from Chris Wood. Very rarely against other players. Well, obviously in that May night game we saw Gibbs White. And
what's the fixture run like for Chris Wood?
The fixture run though is,
not bad.
It's not bad. It's average, I'll say. But Aston Villa, Brentford, who do concede goals, especially Spurs, I wouldn't consider that a red fixture. They just conceded 4 against Chelsea. Then Everton away. Ruddin's a keeper, I think. If not for at least next 6.
What about Isak's fixtures in comparison? If you want to pull up. Are you able to do it?
No, I have to switch the screen to do it.
I'll do it.
Yeah, it might be better if you check the fixtures.
I'm gonna put it over to my page. Share my screen bit. Yep.
Yeah, your screen shared.
Yeah. So Isak. Let's take a look at this. Leicester, Ipswich for the next 2. Definitely better than Chris Wood's fixtures, in my opinion. 2 newly promoted teams. This is where Newcastle could get a couple of goals. But we've seen this season, it's these fixtures where they're struggling at the moment. They're beating or getting draws against the better teams. But in the lower fixtures, when they expect them to win, they're not winning. So, yes, I still think Isak is a good pick for the next 2, definitely. Because Leicester and Ipswich are 2 of the worst teams in the league. And yeah, I think it's worth it. But as Tricky Tree says, the Nottingham Forest fan, he's keeping Chris Wood. He'll tick over. And he is sort of doing that so far. 10 goals is not to be sniffed at. I think he's broke the record now for a Nottingham Forest player. I think he's got the most goals in Premier League history for them. So he's doing really well.
He's sustainable. He's been very sustainable this season. I mean, going back to when I thought I was going to take him out. I thought I was going to take him out around when he had obviously
Arsenal.
When he had Arsenal, I thought, I'm going to take him out after Arsenal. Then,
I mean, he had the Ipswich. He gets the odd goal pretty much most weeks. He's only gone 3 games. Was it 4 games? No. What's his blanks like in terms of consecutive blanks? Has he had many blanks in a row?
At worst, he's had 2 blanks in a row, and that was during
Arsenal and Newcastle.
Yeah, Arsenal, which arguably you would say, that's
tough games.
Yeah, tough games. And he only played 27 against Arsenal too. So that's when he was rested. So
it's hard to sell Wood. I think I don't own Chris Wood, but if I had him, it would be tough to sell him, I think, now because of the form that he's showing. Even in any given moment, he can score. And that's why I would be hesitant transferring out. But I do like Isak for the next 2. Solanke will play next week. He should do. I'm not sure he's injured. And that's another thing Jezza says, Isak might get injured. So, obviously there's that issue there, potentially, Isak.
He's had a broken toe. He's just come from a hip injury. And now he's back in football. How long do you think that's sustainable for Chris Wood to be fit? Sorry, not Chris Wood, Isak to be fit before he's relapsed an injury again? That's also something you have to consider if you bring him in.
Yeah, Ezra's 8 Nuri, Larson, planning to sell Mbermo 2 next week for Ahmad and then upgrade Greaves to Virgil. I'm not sure about Ahmad. Don't know how nailed his minutes are, but I like the Virgil move. I'd prefer Trent, I still think, but I think Virgil is still a good pick. Thoughts on my defense? Gabriel, Luca Dean, Mazraoui, 8 Nuri, and Hall. Yes, I know how bad it is. Who's the biggest sell in your opinions? Biggest sell out of that, I would say Luca Dean and 8. Yeah, Luca Dean probably. And what's the Luca Dean situation? I feel like he's not. There've been a couple of games where he's been benched, I believe. Last game it was benched. Yeah, Luca Dean for me is the one I'd get rid of. I think with the fixtures as well, sort of Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, you don't see many clean sheets there. Probably sell him.
Yeah, it's between him and Mazraoui, if I'm honest, as well. Yeah. Man United, they got Man City next. You probably don't expect a clean sheet from there. And he has been benched here and there. 24 minutes after the Nottingham Forest game.
Yeah.
Didn't play, so yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll ship Cunha out ahead of Wood. Vardy all for Trent or Solanke to Isak. Tough one.
I'd keep
I like Trent, but I might go Isak just because the next 2 fixtures. I think Trent is someone that you should be looking at, guys. Would you play Ahmad or Rodgers in game week 16, Jordan? Ahmad against City, Rodgers against Nottingham Forest.
I'll probably go really exciting pick Ahmad for Man City because you sort of expect Man City to concede now. Let's be honest. They've kept 3 clean sheets this season.
Just a 3 for them.
Yeah, just the 3 clean sheets. I think they got one from Southampton 2 game weeks ago, but they've conceded the rest of their matches. So yeah, you expect Man United to score against them. Potentially, maybe Ahmad can be a part of that again because he did assist Bruno Fernandes in the Nottingham Forest game.
I would still probably play Rodgers, but Ahmad is looking like one of Man United's better players. But I just think I don't know what to expect actually from that game. So you could take a punt. I can't call it. I know Man United. I still think Man City will win that, but the way they're playing, Man United fans should feel like they've got a chance in that one. Yeah. Also, sorry for disrupting the stream. There's been a big just been an announcement. My chat's going a bit crazy. Liverpool make opening contract offer to Salah. Does not mean agreement done or close. Any outcome expected to take time. But Salah, Virgil, Trent have all now received proposals, plus talks with LFC ongoing. So yeah, just some Liverpool-related news in terms of contracts.
Promising.
For the promising, it's looking promising. But we'll see. We read this one. If you've got any questions, guys, about your teams, about transfers, about who to take out, who to bring in, players you're looking at, let us know. But I want to talk about a watch list, Jordan. What players should we be looking at bringing in that we don't own, or the mass players people don't own? Trent for me is up there. I think Trent is a player that I am looking at to bring in because the defenders this season just haven't been. There's no great options now. I think Lewis has been disappointing. Nuri's sort of last couple of weeks, he's not delivered. Arsenal defense, bit hit and miss. Gabriel, if you've had him 2 games in a row now where he's missed out. Saliba's doing quite well now. 2 goals back-to-back weeks. Timber's an option there. I mean, defenders, Jordan. Where are we seeing the options?
That is the player that you mentioned, one of them being Timber, because obviously Ben White still unknown for when he will be coming back. So that means Timber's pretty much nailed in that position. Yeah. He also did score against Man United, and we have seen a lot of defenders in the last 3 game weeks score from defensive players.
Arsenal defenders, yeah.
So he's cheap, affordable.
Sorry, just going on points. If you guys can see that side of the screen, Van Dijk is the current top scoring defender. Then it's Trent. Then it's Gabriel. Then it's Ola Aina. Ashley Young's 5th, surprisingly. He does have 3 assists for the season and a goal. Vardio, Porro, Saliba. There's not many great options, really. Collins is one mentioned in the chat by Ezra. What's your thoughts on Collins? I
think he did
scored against Newcastle, obviously, but 2 goals now. He did score against Wolves in game week 7. He's got 4 assists for the season, which I did not know. So yeah, he's quite got that threat there, it seems. They're attacking threat, Nathan Collins. Fixtures are tough, though, so that would put me off Nathan Collins, but it's interesting, definitely. He's getting returns. I'm still going to keep the faith with Nuri. I still think the fixtures are there for him, next 3 at least, and then I'm going to sell him because the fixtures turn. So I'm keeping the faith with Nuri for 3 games.
Nuri's an interesting one because he's not kept a clean sheet since game week 11.
Yeah.
Not an attacker return since game week 9.
Yeah. We're not buying him for clean sheets, though, really.
No, we're not. We're buying it for the attacker returns, but even that, it's been 6 game weeks without an attacker return from Nuri. And a total of 6 points from Nuri in the last 6 game weeks.
Yeah, staying on the subject of defenders, Roman says he likes Timber and Munoz. Obviously, Munoz got the goal against City as well. So Dan also says I'd go Hall, Colwell. I think Colwell was a good shout, even though Chelsea's defense, we'll see. But Chelsea do have the nice run, so I still think Colwell is worth the punt. So if you want looking for a cheap defender, Colwell's up there. Van Heck as well. I don't know how you say this guy's name. Dean. I'm going to call him Dean. I don't know how you pronounce his surname. The defender for Bournemouth. Comment from George Kent here. This guy, he's one to watch. He scored against Spurs, and got a 15-pointer in that game. I think he also got some bonus points as well. Yeah, he got 3 bonus. He also played 90 minutes against Ipswich. If he can keep his place in the squad, fixtures don't look too bad for the next 5 or 6 games for Bournemouth. At 4.3 million, he's an interesting option. But for me, I'm still not sold on him just because of minutes, especially around that Christmas period. And there's a lot of games. I want players that I know are going to start. And unfortunately, right now, with my defense, Greaves, Lewis, Mikalenko even, I'm not sure. And I want to get players that I know are going to start because I don't want to be in a position like this week where I've got 10 playing players. I know Liverpool game was postponed, but that's the only thing that puts me off that guy for now. But I'm going to watch it. Developments.
How about this player? I'll throw this name into the ring because this player isn't really talked about. But the West Ham player, defense for Wan-Bissaka.
Wan-Bissaka. Okay, he scored as well against Arsenal, didn't he?
Scored against Arsenal, Newcastle in a game at 12 and 13, and played pretty much 90 minutes for the whole season.
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka's interesting. He barely ever got a goal for Man United, but then he got back-to-back goals against Newcastle and Arsenal. For me, I'm still not looking at West Ham. I just think their defense is pretty poor. I think they've kept 1 clean sheet all season, 2 clean sheets all season. So yeah, I mean, sorry, 3. I think it's 3 clean sheets. But yeah, I'm not convinced with West Ham right now. I still think they could sack their manager at any point. Maybe if they got a new manager, I might look at a West Ham player, like a Bowen even, because the fixtures are there. Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton. They could pick up a couple wins here and sort of turn their season around. But I'm not looking at him yet. But he is one to, if you're interested, 5.8% ownership.
Yeah, because I have been slightly, when looking at Wan-Bissaka when he plays West Ham on the right-hand side, he does push very far forward. He almost plays almost like a winger. And that's what I like about obviously Wan-Bissaka. And he did make opportunities from that Newcastle and obviously Arsenal game where he did potentially, he scored in those fixtures. But you could have got an assist here and there for West Ham, if I'm honest, if there was better finishers in that team. Yeah. But he's definitely a player like Haït-Nouri, similar. You go for the attacker returns rather than the clean sheets.
So Munoz is another defender, scored against City this week, scored against Newcastle a couple of weeks ago. He's on 2 goals and 2 assists for the season. But fixtures-wise, there's a couple of tough games. Arsenal in there, Chelsea not long away, Brighton next. Let's look at fixtures quickly as well. FDR. I mean, Arsenal, in terms of the teams, I think Arsenal have the best next 3. Everton, Palace, Ipswich. So you want to have at least 1 Arsenal attacker, maybe a double up on the defense. Aston Villa, Watkins, I thought was very poor. So I'm not looking at Watkins as an option still. Bournemouth, I think Semenyo, Kirkes. I mean, maybe Kirkes. We've not really mentioned him, but he could be one as an option. Brentford, we discussed in Burmo whether he's a sell potentially with the fixtures coming up. Brighton, I think you keep the faith with the assets, Mitoma, João Pedro, etc. for the next 3. See how they go. Chelsea, obviously Palmer, I think now is a must-have. Jackson's a good option. We saw Sancho come in, score goal today, but the rotation risk is there with him. I think that's the issue with Sancho. Even Neto, I wouldn't go there just because they've got such a big squad. They can rotate those guys out. So for me, it's just Jackson, Palmer, and Colwell as well. I do like him as an option for that defense because there could be some clean sheets, even though it's Chelsea's defense. There's obviously, I've said their defense isn't the best, but the fixtures for the next 5 look all greens.
Yeah, it's all green. It's a shame with Enzo as well, who was part of the goals today, that he's not a nailed player because he has kind of brought it back for Chelsea this season comparatively from previous season. I believe another manager, Tuchel. But it's new manager for Chelsea now has brought the potential out of some of these players that we didn't really see. So it is very good long term to see what happens if they do play more minutes, like Enzo, Neto, these type of players, because they would be very good in terms of FPL. But yeah, I agree. Only Nicholas Jackson, Palmer for me currently as assets I would go for.
Palace I'd avoid for now, just because of the fixtures. But Munoz could be one that you look at. I still won't be going likes of Eze, etc. Everton, I'm not looking at them. Fulham, Liverpool next, Chelsea as well in the next 3. So Jimenez is the one was being a bit frustrating for owners, but he's given you a goal now against Arsenal. You could keep Jimenez, but I probably would look to move him on. Ipswich, not really anyone I'm looking at there with the fixtures they have as well. Arsenal and Chelsea in game week 18 and 19. Wolves could be a good game for Delap potentially, or one of the defenders. I'd avoid Leicester still. I don't think any of their players. Liverpool, I think the main one is Salah, obviously. At this moment in time, looks like a perma cap option potentially. Trent, Virgil are the other ones I'd go for. I wouldn't really go for any other Liverpool attacker at this moment. Jota, I think, might come back from injury. So Jota, we'll see if he plays in the Champions League. He could be back. And if Jota's back, I think Jota could become another option. But I want to watch with his injury worries as well. City, there's not anyone I want in City at the moment. I think if you've got Haaland, I will still sell him. Maybe you look to bring Man City assets back in later down the line, maybe in the new year if we see they've picked up some form. But as of now, they don't look the same team, and they are struggling, City, at the moment. Man United, I would avoid any of their players for the City game. You don't know how that game's going to go.
Yeah.
In terms of assets from them, Bruno's the one, but they are up and down, Man United. You don't know what you're going to get still. They've got a new manager, still finding their feet, etc.
They're still experimenting. Amrin's still experimenting with players because every lineup is different every week. It's not the same players playing with each other. He's trying to figure out what is the strongest 11 for Man United. So I'll definitely wait and hold out until Amrin finds who works more effectively in that 11 before you decide to bring in Man United assets. And if you have already, then you might have to hold on to them for now and then see.
A lot of chat about Enzo. Comment earlier as well in terms of Enzo Fernandez, what we make of him. I still wouldn't be going and bringing him in. I know he's done really well, scored a couple of goals recently, got a few assists. I think it's like 6 goals and assists in his last 9 or something like that. If you want to check for me, Jordan, you could go there. I'm not sure I want triple Chelsea attack because I've got Jackson. I've got Palmer. I don't really want triple Chelsea attacks. That's why I'm ruling myself out of it. If you've not got Jackson, you maybe could think Enzo and Palmer. But for me, that's why I'd avoid it. I don't want the triple up on their attack.
He's had 3 goals and 3 assists, but they've only come recently because he's had blanks for the first 10 game weeks. He didn't score anything, get no assist. He started getting returns when he played against Arsenal, got an assist. Goal and assist against Leicester, goal against Aston Villa, assist against Southampton, and now a goal against Tottenham. So his recent good form has just come quite like early on or later on now, rather than. But he is cheap at 4.9. Maybe you could include him as a third Chelsea asset, but for the next fixtures because they are really good.
Yep. Newcastle, I think Isak's the option. You could look at someone like Gordon, take a punt. In that game, Lewis Hall still was a decent option, I think, potentially. Forest, Chris was the only one. Ola Aina's had a good start to the season, but you don't see many clean sheets for Forest in these games. Southampton, just avoid their players. Spurs, an interesting one. If you've got the likes of Solanke and Johnson, I still think I'd hold for Southampton. They could bounce back, but that's probably a game where they'll lose and they'll probably go get a draw against Liverpool with knowing how they play. And West Ham, for now, I'm still avoiding their players. Maybe if they get a new manager, we know rumors potentially they could look to manage a switch, but fixes aren't too bad. If you've got Bowen, I'll still be patient with him. Bowen's the only one I'd be looking to have from West Ham at the moment. And the Wolves, Cunha, keep the faith, I think, for the next 2 games. If you've got Strand Larson, keep the faith next 2. Even 8 Nuri's been pretty frustrating, but Ipswich and Leicester are the ones where you'd expect them to maybe get some goals. After that, you're probably looking at selling your Wolves assets because the fixers turn again and they've got the tough games coming up. So that's all in all sort of where we stand in terms of the fixtures. Champions League this week, so be careful doing early transfers. Yeah, as always, guys, don't go early. Leave it as late as possible for the deadline. Fernandez is the only realistic option, United option, and never performs in big games. Evening, boys. 31 points with 2 left. Watkins captain ruined my week. My takeaway this season is picking captaincy on fixtures is not the way to go. Yeah, I completely agree. That happened to me last season where I was just doing it on fixtures. But you have to just go on form. And that's why when you look at the form, it's hard to sell people like Chris Wood. If you've got him, that's why even me, I was blinded maybe not captaining Salah a lot more when I saw Salah was tearing it up at the start of the season. And going and keeping Haaland for so long when it was right in front of our eyes that Man City were not the same team. So it's hindsight, but I guess, yeah, always form is important as well in terms of the FPL. But yeah, I think that's it, Jordan, from us. Is there anything else you'd like to sort of touch on in terms of anything we've not discussed? Or
obviously, just touched on that comment about obviously Watkins because he was in bench. I was surprised at that. But I was even more surprised that Aston Villa only scored 1 goal against Southampton, which might have seemed underwhelming, and that was from Duran, who no one actually owns. Because I think this week, because we've seen a lot of goal scorers that haven't really been in our teams. Because there's been lots of goals, but they haven't really come the way where, in terms of FPL assets, we've had them selected. So hence why it's such a low-scoring game week, and not quite an exciting one that we thought to have, especially with Palmer being the outstanding one this week. I think without him, I don't think this game week would have much really to talk about.
Yeah, also a comment here from Tricky Trees. Hit the likes, folks. Yeah, there's quite a few of you in here. If you haven't already, which some of you haven't, please do smash the like button, guys. It really helps support the channel. Also, make sure you're subscribed as well to the content, as we've got a lot of content coming as well. So do stay tuned for all to come. But I think that's it from us. We are going to wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching. Hope you've had a good week or weekend. And you hopefully you've enjoyed the football, because there's been quite a few good games, I think, this week, especially the one we've just seen, Chelsea Spurs. But yeah, thank you guys, and we will see you again on maybe Wednesday, possibly.
Yeah, because obviously Champions League is this week. We'll have to schedule when there isn't no Champions League, obviously, so we don't clash with that. But yeah, sometime this week.
All right. So take care, guys, and see you soon.